Welcome back to my channel. In my previous video, you saw me upsize and make the shrug and bloomers for a witch costume. I don't know how I have my hand up like this. But yeah, you saw me upsize and create a shrug and bloomers for a witch costume from Simplicity Pattern 8719. Today, you're going to watch me struggle with a corset, and it was fun-ish. Let's put it this way, it is just a Halloween costume. That's what I had to keep telling myself because I am a perfectionist with things. It is just a Halloween costume. Alright, now with that in your mind going into this, let's go ahead and start this corset. Again, before we start, let me show you the mock-up. The only alteration I did was upsize it in width according to my measurements. The corset fit around me well, but the length was in no way flattering. It sat at a very unattractive and unhelpful position on my torso. At first, I stuck some pieces underneath and drew a new edge. Then I went back to the pattern with the new guide and cut out another mock-up. This one worked well for me, and if I could add more boning in the middle of the seams, I would have, but the pattern did not allow for me to add more without going off course with the construction itself. I cut out my corset in a pretty floral satin that I got off Amazon, and for the lining I just used some leftover non-stretch woven fabric from my stash. Taking number 10, the right corset front section, place your zipper face down on the front edge. The tape should be 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge, and the top should be tapering off at the large dot. Use a zipper foot to stitch 5/8 away from the raw edge. Reattach the other side of the zipper. Place the face of the left side of the zipper flat onto the left center front section. This helped keep the zipper level while you're pinning it. Separate the zipper and pin it 1/4 away from the front edge as before. Stitch it 5/8 of an inch away from the center front. I have a whole section on how to make the tabs in my shrug video, so head on over there to see how to make them. Taking the corset side front, number 11, pin your corset tabs, number 14, to the large dots you see here. Match the dots on the tabs and baste them. Then take the corset side back, number 13, and pin the tab ends, number 15, to the large dots at the waist and baste them in too. Do the same thing with the other side back and side front. Starting with the back pieces, you should interface both of them. Then take your back piece and your right side front and stitch them together, right sides together. Press the seam, then take the side front and pin it to the side back, matching your notches, and stitch. And finally, take your front, pin it to the side front, matching notches, stitch it, right sides together. Do the same thing with the other side of the corset and the lining pieces. For the boning, you will want to press the seams a certain way. The side front seam will be pressed towards the front, and the rest will be pressed towards the back. These seams will be your boning casings. Stitch seams of the corset 3/8 of an inch from the first stitching within the seam allowance, stitching through all your thicknesses. The casing will look like this on the inside, and on the outside it should look like this. Your seam allowance will need to be taken into account for the boning, so base across the bottom at 5/8 of an inch. Take your boning and measure each casing separately, how much you will need minus the top seam allowance and 1/4 of an inch. Once all your strips are cut, insert them into the casings and base at 5/8 of an inch across the top. Match the outside and the lining together, right sides together. Sew across the top edge at 5/8 of an inch, and then again at 3/8 of an inch away from the previous stitching into the seam allowance. This will be your top casing. Taking your boning, you will measure a piece of boning minus both the front and end seam allowance, less 1/4 of an inch at the top. Once you cut your boning, insert it into the top casing and baste across the ends. Then stitch the rest of your lining to the rest of your corset edges. Trim any extra zipper tape as well. For the back panel, stitch 3/8 of an inch into the seam allowance away from the first stitching. This is your bone casing. Measure the length of the casing and cut a piece of boning to fit in it, less the seam allowance and 1/4 of an inch. Insert the boning into the casing and stitch it closed. I know earlier I said to sew the lining as normal, but you will need to leave a small slit in the front side seam so you can flip it. Now to flip, pull the outside of the corset through the slit, pulling it inside out. Once you're done, press your edges and slip stitch your lining opening closed. For the grommets, you'll follow this guideline, and I am not good at making them because I have this cheap kit. You put this metal guide under it and this thing goes on top in the hole, and you use the hammer to press it down. As you can see here, it looks terrible. It has been years since I've made a corset, but I found my other tool, and using that at first was iffy, and yes, I did put one on backwards. But as I worked with it, I got better and better at it, and it started to look nice. For the trim, you will need to pin it to the front edges like so, folding under the edges. Stitch or glue, whichever you like. And you will apply some here at the back, but I didn't have enough for the whole project, so it's only going to be up front for me. Then go ahead and attach your buckles. So let's talk about this corset for a second. Do you remember back in the day when you used to see prom dresses where it was kind of like strapless, but it went straight across your chest? And it's supposed to be like classic and cute. Oh my gosh, I'm bleeding. But yeah, remember back in the day that you would get like just a prom dress, one color, satin or whatever, and it would just go across your chest, and you spent like the entire night trying to hold up like the cups and the bust of it and everything. That's exactly what this is. So my advice for anybody who is bustier, that if you're going to do this corset, I would definitely say you need to add some height, or you need to be able to create your own kind of straps to hold them up on the side, because I'm trying to, the best that I can, like not flash YouTube and get in trouble, but it's, how do I show this? I still have pins on because I did not tack down this yet, but basically it's not giving me enough room in the cup, and the curve actually stops right here, and I have all of this left. So my solution for this moment right now, I'm going to take some power mesh, and because you already have to top stitch the corset anyways, I'm going to tack it to the inside so that, and create like really nice pleats, you know how you drape and stuff, but basically just kind of attach it to the inside where the bra is, because I still want my chest to be out, but not so much. And if I had a strapless bra, it probably would help, but that's real dangerous. That's too much cleavage, and it's just not supportive enough. So I'm going to take some power mesh, and I'm going to create like a little, I don't know, just a makeshift strap, and I might attach it to the back part just to be able to hold it up. And it's honestly just because the cups don't have enough support, and I kind of don't trust it, and I don't have a strapless bra for the girls, so I need as much support as possible, which is what I gave myself. I made a guide to where I wanted the mesh to be at the front. I found some power mesh and sewed 2 running stitches parallel to the edge to gather. I gathered them up until they were the length of my guide, and I basted them in, then stitched. Alright, so I don't hate this corset, but I can say that I wish the back was a little longer. Like, I wish I had actually thought about it and made it longer to go higher up my back, or like, I guess people use gussets to go over your hips. So I do have sway back and I do have a butt, so it's just kind of like, it was difficult. But all in all, for the fact that it is just a Halloween costume, I think the alterations that I did made it look really classy from the front. And yeah, I really appreciate how the sex appeal that the mesh brings in, but it also keeps the girls in and from scaring people. I can say it was a difficult project, but it wasn't impossible. It was challenging enough. So if you feel like you're not being challenged enough in your sewing, make a corset. With that said, thank you so much for joining me today. I have one video left. One video for this costume, because I made a skirt, but I did not make my hat because your homegirl ran out of time. So yeah, but thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please let them be as positive and nice as possible. What else? Oh, I am going to link my Instagram, so if you make this or anything else, or if you want to show me your Halloween costumes, I'm all about it. You can tag me on Instagram, or send me a picture on Instagram. I'll check my DMs. I can check them just for you. But yeah, you can also check my Twitter. All the other videos for this costume should be linked either below, or I'll probably create a playlist for it. And yes, get excited because the last video is coming out either tonight or tomorrow, and it'll be done, and then I can finally reveal to you how stinking cute this looks. Hope you're excited. Alright, I will see you folks next time. Bye.